our voice.
Democracy and good governance are complementary. Peace, sustainable peace. Peace at home, which is actually one of the major goals of the sustainable SDGs.
We need to make sure that data reflects the reality on the ground. We need to enhance the social protection system and make sure that it encompasses all realms and segments of the population. We are the bear holders of this agenda. The time to act is now.
A successful sustainable development agenda can only take place when both the private sector and the public sector, of course with the civil society, work together to achieve these sustainable development goals. For this we need partnerships at all levels.
The ESCAP should display some kind of roadmap for all these countries, a kind of menu that they can provide, and out of these menus some countries can provide, can do better on this, better on that, so that they can be very selective in terms of achieving whatever the priority they have.
Not one island nation can survive or can do anything by itself. So in the past years we've worked closely with other governments, and we truly believe that by working together with the other governments we can somehow pursue this further, pursue the agenda of conserving water and advocating for mitigation options for climate change, especially for our region, because we know that we are definitely a few disasters away from being extinct.
It's incumbent upon the Asia-Pacific community to demonstrate how we could achieve the SDGs using science, technology and innovation. But there's one gap though that we need to realize. For most of the countries, the developing countries in this region, we lack capacity, we lack the skill, we lack the know-how. So we need to build on that so that individual countries could be more prepared in addressing the challenges of the SDG.
Asia has a key to attain sustainability of the world. But Asia lacks good governance in that sense to promote sustainability agenda, and also basic resources needed for that. And now world is really committed to this, and more funding, more technologies, and more capacity building opportunities are going to be created, and therefore Asia should grasp these opportunities to make itself more sustainable.
We want every education for all.
Lined up.
SDG is the last hope that we have to have a sustainable world.
The region will have to understand that the long-term challenges on Earth, whether it's climate change, whether it's peace, whether it's equity, that these are systemic and structural issues that needs to be addressed. And we need to look at how we exist on Earth collectively rather than in fragmented silos.
Sustainable Development Goals are sending us a clear message that economic and environmental well-being are indivisible.
Financing is the catalyst. All of this will mean something more if we can truly democratize the capital markets, so that a woman sitting in Laos, a woman sitting in Laos, can be actually growing her business by getting some funding for, say, someone sitting in Bangladesh, and Hassan sitting in Bangladesh, and basically being able to be the investor. So it really is, everyone becomes an investor, everyone becomes an entrepreneur.
Making use of ICT as the vehicle,
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we will start in next few minutes. Please proceed to your seats.
be able to afford it, regardless.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, our session 5, Making Cities Inclusive, Safe, Resilient and Sustainable, Regional Priorities and Opportunities, will start in a few minutes. Please get ready. Ждем делегацию. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we are waiting for you to start the session. Please proceed to your seats. And where is the chair? Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, our session 5 on making cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable will begin. I have an honor now to introduce you the session chair, His Excellency Mr. S.B. Disnayaki, Minister of Social Empowerment and Welfare, Sri Lanka. Mr. Chair, the session is yours.
Here. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the meeting is called to order. It is indeed an honor and privilege for me to assume the responsibilities of this session chair for our consideration of agenda item 7, making cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable regional priorities and opportunities. The document pertinent to this agenda item is also titled Making Cities Inclusive, Safe, Resilient, and Sustainable Regional Priorities and Opportunities. E/FSD3/INF8. This session is structured as follows. First, we will have a roundtable moderated by the Under Secretary General of the United Nations and Executive Secretary of ESCAP, who will also give introductory remarks. The roundtable panelists are honorable mayors and local authorities from the Asia-Pacific region. Finally, I will call for the delivery of country and the stakeholders' statement. I have now the pleasure to invite Dr. Ms. Samsa Dakhtar, Under Secretary General of the United Nations and Executive Secretary of the ESCAP, to deliver some introductory remarks. Ms. Akhtar, this floor is now yours.
So good afternoon to everybody, and count on this session to be very stimulating, given that we have such collective wisdom from the municipalities and cities. Your Excellency, Mr. Disanayake, who's our session chair, Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, we all know about our experience of the Millennium Development Goals. It has taught us that the successful implementation of the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda will depend on action and ownership, and most of all action and ownership at the local level from the very beginning, and we are at the beginning of kickstarting the implementation here with, of course, countries in the lead. We know with certainty that what happens in cities will have a decisive impact on sustainability and achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. The 2030 Agenda recognizes this through Goal 11 on inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable cities. This is particularly true in Asia and the Pacific, with our rapidly urbanizing population doubling every 20 years and projected to reach 3.2 billion by 2050. More of the information on urbanization and its consequences are available in our very good report that was completed as a part of the Asia-Pacific Urban Consultations. Cities will take center stage later this year in Ecuador at the third United Nations Conference on Housing and Sustainable Development, popularly called as Habitat 3. The new urban agenda will lay the groundwork for national urban policies and regulations, which will help to shape the future we want. Local governments are also critical partners in SDG implementation, with all SDG targets related in some way to their responsibilities. These include, among others, healthcare, education, public transport, waste management, land planning, reductions in carbon emissions, taxation, infrastructure planning and development, and many more. City-level leaders have been among the most proactive and successful in driving action and global transformation on key challenges such as climate change in many respects. This cleared the way for Paris Agreement last year with a range of local pledges and commitments such as the Compact of Mayors. It was a very impressive show from the mayors. More needs to be done, however, to both recognize and support the role of local authorities as champions of sustainability. Although local governments are increasingly vested with growing development responsibility, in many cases this has not been matched by the necessary financial resources, legal mandates, and capacities. A lot of self-help by the local administrations is needed to mobilize resources. Most cities do face today critical financing gaps, often a reflection of their weak fiscal base and limited authority, to raise revenue through additional sources and taxes. Consequently, notable gaps have emerged with regard to investments required, in particular relating to infrastructure and the provision of basic services. These needs were specifically recognized in the Addis Ababa Action Agenda on Financing for Development, which acknowledged the importance of providing financial resources to municipalities and local authorities to address the gaps in financing and technological capacities. Cities will certainly need greater support in finance and beyond finance to implement the ambitious 2030 agenda, which requires strong management and governance. ESCAP has therefore identified 3 priority areas for future action on sustainable urban development in Asia Pacific that is really related to our platform. Of course, there are more initiatives that are being undertaken. So let me lay out these 3 areas. First, we must address the lack of urban data for effective policies. Urban data collection and reporting have not come up with the needs of urban planners and city managers. Affecting city development planning and understanding of urban change, including complex social change taking place across our region's cities. Acquiring such data requires new methods and technology, which is why significantly greater support and capacity is required for cities to generate, access, and use data for change. I look forward to hearing ideas in this session about how to overcome this challenge and what cities have been able to do. Our second priority in our region should promote knowledge sharing and cooperation on sustainable urban development through stronger regional partnership in support of 2030 agenda. Information sharing, like this particular platform, across the key dimensions of Goal 11 and related goals such as water, will be the most important. Regional networks have been particularly effective in the implementation of Agenda 21, as well as the MDGs, in part to their capacity to mobilize a range of stakeholders. Finally, we must ensure alignment of both national and local priorities with the SDGs. I believe that future APFSDs can support this process, providing a valuable platform to connect regional and sub-regional multi-stakeholder forums, such as Asia Pacific Urban Forum that we had in Jakarta, with networks of cities to facilitate implementation, follow-up, and review of the 2030 agenda. I've also had discussions, and some countries have also offered that they would like to host an urban consultation. As cities seek to build and find solutions to persistent and emerging issues, regional forums such as the APFSD offer opportunities to share innovative policies and initiatives, facilitate knowledge sharing, as I mentioned, as well as strengthening North-South, South-South, and triangular cooperation. This also supports SDG 17 on the means of implementation and the global partnerships required for sustainable development, bridging the gap between global commitments and local implementation. So I thank you all for being here and making this session fruitful. Look forward to the views of the mayors and city heads. Thank you. Okay, this is working. I'm sorry for the bit of a delay. I have the distinct pleasure to introduce our panel for the session 5. And I am very excited because having met some of the mayors, I think it provides a valuable opportunity to all of us to hear from city leaders themselves. In this session, let me first introduce you to our distinguished panel before I get into the substance of this session. We have Ms. Memuna Mohammed Sharif, Mayor of Seberang Perai, Malaysia. Welcome to this podium. Next, I'd like to call Mr. Yogeshwar Parajuli, Development Commissioner of Kathmandu Valley Development Authority, Nepal. Please. Mr. Romano Rio, Mayor of Besio, Kiribati. Mr. Lee, Director General of International Urban Development Corporation of Seoul Metropolitan Government, Republic of Korea. Mr. Bebek, Mayor of Almaty, Kazakhstan. I believe our youngest mayor. Honorable Pakop, Governor of Port Moresby, National Capital District and Member of Parliament from Papua New Guinea. Ms. Kalpana Srivastava, Commissioner, Government of Madhya Pradesh, India. So I'm delighted to be joined at least by 2 ladies. I would have liked to see all women mayors, but still I'm very happy to have you all here. In this session, our panel will discuss the significance of building inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable cities in the region, a cornerstone to SDG 11, and will also reflect on key challenges such as the preparedness of cities to focus and deliver on SDGs, resources, and the importance of institutional coordination and alignment with national implementation policies. So let me now explain the rules of the game. It is important that we try to cover a range of topics. We will, of course, be addressing local government's perspective on key questions, and these will be alignment of SDGs with existing planning priorities and frameworks, related policy and governance shifts, addressing resource and data limitations that I talked about a minute back, forging effective partnerships between local governments and civil society organizations, and the private sector and other relevant stakeholders, and partnerships with central government. So that we can address all these key areas, I would very much appreciate if our panelists, because we will have a few rounds and we'll be coming back and forth to them, that the interventions to the question that I'm going to be posing in a minute be maximum of 5 minutes each, so that we can, of course, have a dynamic session and we can roll out more questions from the floor also. So without delay, we can now move to our first area, which reflects on aligning local priorities and capacities with SDGs and local planning. My first call will be on Mayor Memuna. The SDGs, of course, provide a wide-ranging and ambitious set of goals and targets for local governments. But of course, cities have their own strategic plans and priorities in place, which reinforce often the national, but they have to serve their own population in their jurisdiction. So in this case, I'd like to hear about your municipal authority, how you plan to align the SDGs with your city's own planning visions. So you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Let me introduce, just take a short time to introduce my city. I am from Penang, Malaysia. My city is about 738 square kilometer with 900,000 population. And I am the first lady mayor of the city after 17 male mayors. And there are only 3 lady mayors in Malaysia. And I'm also the president of the Malaysia Local Authority Association, or we call it by MALA. And as we know that SDGs has 17 goals, 169 targets, and 200 plus indicators. And I'm sure it is aiming towards the giving the good quality of life for the citizen. That is the short objective. And Seberang Perai, with 738 square kilometer with 900 over 1,000 population, we also would like to provide a good quality of life to our ratepayers. And we use the SDGs as the guiding principle to achieve our priorities and needs. And let me share with you our vision. I think every city, they have their visions. Seberang Perai is envisioned as a beautiful, comfortable, and cleaner place to live, to work, and attract both investors and tourists. And we also have our mission to provide cleaner, greener, safer, and healthier urban management services that are responsive towards the needs of the community in Seberang Perai. And this vision and mission is not only prepared by us, but it's prepared together with the citizen of Seberang Perai. When we just updated our vision in 2014 to increase the tourist element in the vision. Let me explain or share with you about the cleaner, greener, safer, and healthier Seberang Perai. Cleaner, ladies and gentlemen, is not only in terms of solid waste management. It's not only in terms of rubbish, but we would like to have it clean in terms of good governance. We are implementing the CAT principle, competency, accountability, and transparency in our administration, clean, and also in terms of management of our city. That's why we introduced 4R in our city: rethink, reduce, reuse, and recycle. People used to say 3R, but we add on another R. You have to rethink in whatever you do, because it is 3R, it's already too late. So we have to rethink. In terms of the greener, it's not only about planting trees, but we are also thinking about the development toward a sustainable city, low carbon city, reduce the ecological footprint of our city, and we are now promoting our eco-city, green procurement, green office, renewable energy, and also this is in terms of our development. In terms of safer, it's not only in terms of the safe environment, we are implementing the crime prevention through environmental design, safe in our economic, political stability, disease, and also we're having CCTVs to minimize the crime. And in terms of healthcare, not only in terms of the physical build, but also in terms of the healthy, competitive in the economic growth, spiritual healthy, and also financial healthy. And how do we link this to SDG? And this SDG, we are having comprehensive urban planning management, where we have our structure plan for 10 years. We translate this urban planning principle into our local plan. And at the end, there is another level, we call it local plan. And this, everything we combine, we have MPSP or Seberang Perai strategic plan for 2014 to 2018. We have 10 pillars in this strategic plan. We are talking about cleanliness, safety, mobility, and connectivity. We have law compliance, flood mitigation, beautification, greenery, and public facilities, community engagement, capacity building, fiscal strengthening, efficient management, excellent service delivery, and all this suggested by the stakeholders. And our 10 pillars, I think, is parallel to the goal of the SDGs, at least the goal number 11, which are translated into our local needs, our needs, Seberang Perai citizen needs. That's why you can see that there are 10 fiscal or 10 pillars that we are created together with the people. And how do we do it together with the people? The 9 pillars, we translated it into 9 focus, yearly focus. This yearly focus, we have 57 programs. Same like SDGs, we have 57 programs and 106 activities. And these activities, ladies and gentlemen, is be measured by our stakeholders through the town hall, balance scorecard, and the program will be discussed and will be reviewed and also be checked by the people of our citizens in the stakeholders of Seberang Perai. When we do this, we implement this gender responsive and participatory budgeting. We are the first local authority in Malaysia to implement GRPB since 2011. Last month, just the last GRPB for us to prepare our 2017 budget. We asked the community, how do you want us to spend your money? Because we have the ratepayers paying rates to us and giving us the revenue. And we asked them, which are the things that you think the priority in the cities? Of course, in the local level, we don't tell them, oh, look, this is SDG. We don't talk into the people. These are the sustainable development goals. But within that, we embedded the SDG into our day-to-day looking into the cities. And we also agreed with this morning gentleman talking about 4 Ps. We already started our 4 Ps from 2011. Public, private, people partnership through our GRPB. And we are now instituting the gender mainstreaming in our administration. And gender here, ladies and gentlemen, is not only men, women, but also in terms of different ages, different income, different locality in where they stay, and also in terms of ability and disability. So this GRPB is the key to our policy making because different people have different needs. We have unlimited needs, but we still have very limited resources. And I think this is parallel to the SDG principle. No one will be left behind because different people have different needs and what we have the limited resources. So we are also being checked, being examined by the stakeholders. And in the year 2014, the level of satisfaction of the citizen towards our services was 68%. But in the year 2015, it was jumped to 89%. So these are the things that we are very proud of. And the respondents in terms of the percentage, 52% are women and 48% men who respond to our GRPB exercise. And we are going into the output, from output budget into the outcome-based budgeting. So we are here to ensure that economic growth, we are pro-growth, employment opportunities, we are pro-jobs, and equitable justice, we are pro-poor. And we would like to see Seberang Perai to be the habitat of choice for residents, the destination of choice for tourists, and the location of choice for investors in setting up their business. And we are committed to implement SDGs according to our own priorities and needs of our own city and our own people. And SDGs is not only our commitment, but it will be our guiding principle in our development and decision making. And I think that, ladies and gentlemen, local government is the key actor in implementing SDGs. SDGs, we can talk at the international level, we can talk at the regional level, we can also discuss at national level, but without the active participation of the local government, the local authorities, I think the local or the SDGs will be very difficult to achieve its goals. So we need the local, the mayors, to understand the SDGs, and also in terms of the capacity building, and in terms of the finance, and also in terms of the technology. So that's why we are really looking forward for the implementation, and also we would like the local government to be included in the processing of SDGs, and also in terms of the designing of the report and the evaluation and the monitoring. Because like LA 21, without local authority, the SDGs will be a tick of document and will be kept in the cupboard. So we are the mayors will be implementing all the policies that will be discussed in the SDGs. Thank you very much. I will stop there, then I will continue later. Thank you.
Thank you. A very good beginning, laying out framework for cleaner and healthy city. Very good articulation of how you have adopted SDGs without calling them SDGs. I like that part, localizing them. And the brilliant gender-sensitive budgeting move that you have undertaken. So my congratulations to you. Let me now move to our next intervention from Mr. Yogeshwar, Development Commissioner, Kathmandu Valley Development Authority from Nepal. As you all know, and perhaps vividly remember, the devastating impact of the earthquake in Nepal last year, and Kathmandu Valley was greatly affected. As Development Commissioner, you have recently, I believe, prepared a 20-year strategic master plan for Kathmandu Valley. And what is pertinent given the current circumstances is how you position the authority and the city going forward. So how can the focus on urban resilience in the SDGs support your long-term planning and its priorities? How important to you is the resilience to achievement of the goal 11 squarely on urban? Over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kathmandu has a population, Kathmandu Valley has 22 municipalities, and its official population is 3 million, but unofficially we call around 5 million population. So this is just a brief introduction, and its area is 722 square kilometers. Now regarding the questions, I agree with you, Madam Chair. There is no choice but an absolute necessity to have resilient planning as per SDG for sustainable development in this region. We know, like any other country, in the importance of resilience. It was also quite evident in the last Gorkha earthquake. We call it Gorkha earthquake. It was 7.8 magnitude, and which hit Nepal in April 2015. As we all know, the earthquake caused immense loss of life and property. It resulted in the loss of 9,000 lives, injuring hundreds of thousands, displacing over 1 million people, and eventually pushing additional 3.5% of the people below the official poverty line. Official poverty line. Decline in the per capita income was also substantial, around 23%. In Kathmandu alone, death toll was around 1,700, with 100,000 houses completely damaged and destroyed. Now, the government of Nepal is facing a great challenge in meeting the aspirations of the people in the recovery and reconstruction. Despite of various efforts, it will definitely take years to come to normalize the situation. It was not the first time we are facing these difficulties. We know Nepal is prone to several disasters. It ranks 30th position in flood and 11th in the earthquake globally. This call for a sustainable approach as resilience. Many initiatives have taken place in the country. For example, National Urban Policy and National Land Use Policy, both they are in line with Goal 11 of SDG. It was just unfortunate that a big earthquake hit Nepal before the implementation of these reports could start. The Kathmandu Valley Development Authority, KBDA, in this regard, as you pointed out, has also prepared a Strategic Development Master Plan, SDMP. We call it, in short, SDMP, Strategic Development Master Plan. It covers a period of 20 years, starting from 2015 to 2035. In fact, we call it Kathmandu Valley beyond 2035, because it will continue even after that. This focuses on resilience as an important feature for holistic development of the Kathmandu Valley. This SDMP focuses on this one. Resilience for long-term planning is also visible if you see the strategies of our Strategic Development Master Plan. The SDMP has proposed 11 strategies with action plans for each strategy. These strategies complement with the objectives of the SDG. Now I come to the strategies. Strategy 1 is to undertake planning at 2 levels, that is at macro level, which relates to the whole Kathmandu Valley with 22 municipalities and 3 districts. And macro level planning, that is the planning at the municipal level. The KBDA will prepare, Kathmandu Valley Development Authority will prepare a physical development plan for Kathmandu Valley, and it will contain detailed land use zoning in Kathmandu Valley level and also at municipal levels. Land use planning offers a wide range of techniques and tools that can help to mitigate and prevent adverse impacts of seismicity and other disasters and enhance the resilience. Strategy 2 analyzes constraint and sensitivity-based zoning to guide urban expansion and risk-sensitive land use plan of Kathmandu Valley. Similarly, the strategy 3 talks about developing urban pressure and risk-resilient urban infrastructure. Strategy 4 talks about environment conservation and management. This strategy in particular emphasizes on reducing the adverse per capita environmental impacts of cities by making regulations for land, air, and water. At the same time, the strategy promotes conservation of forests, wetlands, ponds, and development of open spaces for leisure purpose and also emergency purposes and access to renewable energy. The strategy 5 talks about urban regeneration of historic city core and traditional settlements. For the information of the audience here, the Kathmandu Valley has 7 World Heritage Sites and 52 traditional settlements. They are very rich in history and culture. So we need to preserve and conserve them. Strategy 6 relates to promotion of economic opportunities through identified growth areas. 7 similarly talks about the promotion of gender equity and social inclusion. Strategy 8 is promoting safety and security in all spheres of the urban development. This strategy advocates about safe and resilient urban areas and crime-free cities. It focuses on strengthening the security system in the city. So these strategies were prepared in consultation with various stakeholders and various community level people. Strategy 9 promote private sector participation in urban development activities. Strategy 10 emphasizes on information, communication, and advocacy. Unless we have right advocacy, we cannot achieve anything. So it also emphasizes on advocacy. Similarly, strategy 11, youth mobilization and participation in urban decision-making process and development activities. This is also important because our youth population is quite substantial in the Kathmandu Valley. Therefore, SDMP, the Strategic Development Master Plan prepared by Kathmandu Valley Development Authority, has conceived a safer and resilient urban environment and has integrated nature, community, and culture. Because I told you, this cultural heritage is our vitality, and it provides a lot of economic opportunity also. Nature, community, and culture in holistic development of Kathmandu Valley. KBDA, the Kathmandu Valley Development Authority's vision is to foresee Kathmandu Valley as safe, clean, organized, prosperous, and elegant national capital region. Resilience is one of the very important strategies for SDG, and so is for our strategic development master plan. Now, the challenge for KBDA is its effective implementation, but with the national and international support, we are, including that of the ESCAP, we are confident that it will be implemented the way it is conceived. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Clearly, our heart goes out to what happened in Kathmandu, and we wish you great success in achieving resilience and in your rebuilding efforts. I'd like to look at another set of challenges facing cities in the region. Besio is perhaps one of the starkest examples in our region of a city facing multiple environmental threats, especially those water-related, in which being resilient will be key to its future. And we have here Mayor Rio. What does resilience mean to your city? And what others may learn from your experience and strategies for how to go about this particular challenge? Over to you, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And you're absolutely right that we actually facing multiple environmental threats that could be in terms of sea level rise, or could be flooding as a result of extended rainy season, or could be drought as a result of extended dry season. So yes, and I think in the last 2 years we faced storm surges as well as king high tide, and there was a wake-up call to everyone that climate change is a reality and it's upon us. So that's the start that everyone is starting to understand what resilience is, and that's where they start to thinking about protection against sea level rise. And from that time, the rebuilding of seawalls and bridges and roads are underway. But the development of the whole of island approach was started as well, because it's not concentrating on a single area, but rather thinking about the whole area in terms of protecting against any challenges related to climate change. So yes, resilience actually is not well addressed at the local level in Kiribati, because everything in the hands of the central government. The fundings are there, and the technology and everything are within the central government. However, at the local level, we try to translate what's climate change is and what's our roles as a local level. And because we are the one to be affected in these threats, we should understand the basis of this, and we should be in the forefront in addressing these challenges. Last week, in my other capacity as a president of the Kiribati Local Government Association, I was running a workshop to all my fellow mayors through some funding assistance from the UNICEF, bring them all to my town and educate them what's climate change is and how to build our capacity in terms of these challenges. So it's a very successful workshop, and that was the starting of the advocacy and understanding everyone, making sure that everybody understand. And as a local leaders, we should take the initiative in all this to the people. So that's one. We are very impressive that the president of our country opened that forum. And it also gave us opportunity to raise our issues with the president, with the new governments, and we asked if they can bring down everything to the local level, if they can bring down the money, the resources, everything, and also the trust so that we are closer to the people, and we should be the ones to assist everyone in the case of threat that we are facing. So those are some minimal work that we've done, but also some we encourage people to in terms of food security. We train and encourage them to look for their own food security. They're starting their home gardening, and they're relying heavily on rice, imported rice. But now they know the impact that if climate change is really happening and it's really true, other issues will be affecting them. The growers in the Asian and in other countries may be affected, and therefore we are a victim. So they started to think about growing their own crops. So you can see everyone growing their individual gardenings. And we also are seeking fundings and assistance from other donors on some rainwater harvesting. So luckily we have also some fundings from the other project like UNICEF and Kiribati Adaptation Project, and they are providing councils with tanks, rainwater tanks, for us to implement and install in the respective villages. So that's really good. We also implement WASH, which is water and sanitation hygiene in school, as a method and avenue to advocate young people of the issues that we are facing, and particularly in the conservation of water and the proper use of sanitation. I think this year is a good year because during the International Water Day, instead of the celebration was held at a high level, we bring it down to the people, and the communities are involved in this celebration. They participate in the actual celebration. But the message is to bring down to them that we are facing a threat of water, because in Kiribati it's a flat and it's a atoll, it's an island. Therefore, we don't have mountains, and as a result, we don't have rivers, we don't have waterfalls. So we heavily rely on groundwater, and we inform the people that we are at risk, because if the waterlands is infiltrated with seawater, that will be the end of our lives. So we should start conserving at this stage and not wasting water. So that is bring to them during that International Water Day, and they are fully aware of that, of the risk, and also the importance of looking after the water. I think the main points that on resilience is that even though we are not fully aware that at the local level, it's a message to the central command that we normally voice, that bring it down to us, the money bring it down to us, and we are the one to do the talk, to do the walking. We have to walk the talk for you, and therefore once we are involved in this, we are not only resilient, but we are building our own capacity to face these challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Romano Rios. This was useful to get a sense on what happens. Of course, Kiribati is a very small island, but there are other cities that are also faced with enormous challenges of flooding, and developing appropriate strategies, and hopefully we can come back to this question. Let me now turn to Mr. Lee. SDG 13 on climate action is also strongly aligned to Goal 11. Cities have a vital role to play in emissions reduction. I have been very impressed by the mayor of Seoul City, and I had the distinct privilege and honor to have a very good long meeting with him. What stands out is not only the quality of the city life there, but Seoul has been also a signatory to the Compact of Mayors and plans to reduce CO2 emissions by 25% by 2020 and 40% by 2030. So I believe we can learn a lot from Mr. Lee, because I'm sure the climate actions and policies have already been thought through. I think there are so many interesting lessons to be learned from Seoul City that it was quite complex for us to zero in on one item, but this is quite a distinct issue. My question to you more directly is, what are some key policy measures and examples of significant projects that have been implemented to lower emissions in Seoul? How do you see the relationship at your level between SDG 13 and SDG 11, the point I made at the beginning? Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Among so many things that this city have tackled, I'd like to talk about the two things. Last year, we published the new document titled "The Promise of Seoul," which contains the concrete policy measures and the concrete indicators in 10 major areas related to the SDG. During the process of formation of this document, we tried to invite all the major civic groups and advocacy groups, even the student activists, because we believe that the civic involvement is most important thing for the attainment of the SDG. And secondly, I'd like to talk about the new campaign, which is called the 1 ton less CO2 campaign. That is, one people can reduce the consumption of the energy, and one people can have less 1 ton CO2 1 year. And that means that because we have 10 million population, that means that we can reduce 10 million tons of CO2 1 year. By coining this new campaign name, it's kind of brand name, we try to make the public agenda turn this public agenda into the daily life of the people's decision making. I mean that the people, we believe that people, citizens, started to perceive the SDGs as his or her own agenda, and we believe that small changes on the part of the citizens can make a big change on the whole city level. I believe that these two major policy measures reflect our belief in the importance of a civic involvement for the attainment of the SDG. Mayor believe this strongly, and police reflect his basic belief, and his initiatives is quite appealing to the civic minds of the people. And businesses and the citizens and government have co-worked and made the final product of the document of Promise of the Soul. I hope you can download the real document and see what we have done. As the Madam Chair have said, we need very specific data or indicators to monitor the progress and evaluate the policy measures. We try to, carefully select the relevant indicator for all the specific policy measures contained in the Promise of the Soul. Overall, overall, I'd like to emphasize again the importance of civic involvement for the attainment of the SDGs. That's the, I think that should be the basic, the fundamental foundation of the all the policy which local government can do, and I think that many insightful comments of the mayors also reflect that point too. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
So we are not going to let you off the hook with this small presentation. We're going to come back to you in a big way with questions. So let me turn to Mayor Bebek, who I had the pleasure to visit very recently in Almaty city, which has its own historic significance, and the first-hand introduction I got from him, I can assure you that here is another very dynamic mayor who will definitely transform the city. SDG level, and while we are on the topic of the climate, I think my question is going to be very much related to the need for us to focus on how to really arrest the threat of environmental degradation, and paying special attention to the issue of air quality, which is threatening millions of people in different parts of Asia. Almaty's public transportation and air quality are among the issues that your administration plans to tackle as priorities. So the question is, how is Almaty doing this while meeting energy and infrastructure demands, which are quite significant? And what should we learn from this particular experience in terms of balancing economic development and sustainable cities? Over to you.
Огромное спасибо, госпожа Ахтар. Действительно, во время вашей поездки в Алматы у нас была очень хорошая беседа о том, как нужно развивать города в рамках целей устойчивого развития. Действительно, глобальные тренды таковы, что сегодня идет не просто глобальная конкуренция стран или компаний. В первую очередь идет глобальная конкуренция мегаполисов, городов. И наша задача при обеспечении устойчивого экономического роста сохранить оптимальные параметры социального и экологического развития. Поэтому я хотел бы, прежде чем рассказать о конкретном вашем вопросе, коротко представить нашу страну. Казахстан находится между Китаем и Россией. Это 9-я по величине территория мира. При этом у нас всего 17 миллионов человек. Поэтому наш президент большое значение уделяет интеграционным процессам. В рамках Евразийского экономического сообщества мы получаем доступ к 170-миллионному рынку. И сегодня очень важно, чтобы город устойчиво развивался. Но вы знаете, что после развала Советского Союза мы начинали в очень сложных условиях. Было $700 на душу населения, и за 25 лет независимого развития рост экономики составил 19 раз выросла экономика. И сегодня валовый продукт на душу населения составляет 13 тысяч на человека, а Алматы $29 тысяч на душу населения. В целом объем валовый региональный продукт Алматы составляет более 50 миллиардов долларов США. Это сегодня крупнейшая экономика региона. И нам сегодня важно, чтобы экономический рост и далее обеспечивался. Мы очень рады тому, что Алматы, имеющий тысячелетнюю историю, благодаря решению ЮНЕСКО включен в международный календарь празднования тысячелетия Алматы. Сегодня территория Алматы это 700 квадратных километров. Население официально 1,7 миллионов человек, но вместе с агломерацией, прилегающими территориями, это практически 3 миллиона человек. По оценке Global Financial Times Алматы занимает 51 место в рейтинге инвестиционной привлекательности, а по данным Financial Post входит в топ-10 стран наиболее быстро растущей экономикой. В связи с тем, что экономика за эти годы росла очень быстро, конечно же, вопросы экологии, чистого воздуха, они усугубились. Поэтому мы в конце прошлого года обсудили программу Алматы-2020, программу устойчивого развития, которую очень публично с населением в различных группах обсуждали, получили поддержку. Есть 7 приоритетов, но 2 из них наиболее основные, я считаю, которые мы берем во главу угла. Это первое – вопросы улучшения экологии, и второе – вопросы улучшения общественного транспорта. Почему именно эти 2 вопроса? Потому что 80% загрязнения воздуха дает личный транспорт, стоящий в пробках. Поэтому мы вот последние десятилетия построили более 27 различных развязок. И мы поняли, что этот путь, он ведет в тупик. То есть, если в городе создавать условия для личного транспорта, чем больше создаешь условий, тем больше личного транспорта появляется, потому что благосостояние растет. И мы по опыту ведущих, в общем-то, мегаполисов мира, это Нью-Йорк, Лондон, Сидней, Мельбурн, особенно Копенгаген, известный архитектор Ян Гейл, мы его пригласили. С их участием мы обсудили программу о том, что мы должны создавать город для людей, а не для машин. Что это означает? В первую очередь мы должны стимулировать, чтобы горожане пересаживались на общественный транспорт. Для этого мы выделяем отдельные линии, свободные, чтобы общественный транспорт мог передвигаться. Во-первых, у нас есть развитие, это станция метро, это метро. Второе, мы при поддержке Европейского банка реконструкции и развития начинаем проект легкорейсового транспорта. Ну и самое главное, у нас в городе зарегистрировано 600 тысяч автомобилей. Ежедневно заезжает 270 тысяч автомобилей и выезжает. То есть мы хотим обеспечить такой эффективный транспорт, чтобы люди, стоящие в пробках, определились, насколько мне выгодно иметь личный транспорт. То есть машину нужно купить, заплатить страховку, найти парковочное место, ее содержать, оплачивать дорогой бензин. Не легче ли пересесть на автобус? Поэтому мы сегодня занимаемся над тем, чтобы провести большую реформу в транспортной системе. То есть если мы сумеем провести эти непростые решения, которые, конечно же, населением принимаются не всегда однозначно, то, я думаю, мы сможем кардинально снизить уровень выбросов в атмосферу. Но в целом по индекс уровня загрязнений НУМБЭЛ из 297 городов в 2015 году Алматы занял 214 место, а по индексу качества инфраструктуры Мерсер 172 место. То есть по международным индексам Алматы в плане макроэкономического развития находится в достаточно эффективных городах мира. В плане инфраструктурно средней, а в плане экологии находится достаточно низко. Поэтому мы сегодня при поддержке населения сделаем это основной повесткой, и горожане сегодня это понимают. Буквально несколько месяцев назад мы создали открытый экологический совет. Очень важный вопрос, когда создаешь условия для бизнеса. В эти непростые времена важно стимулировать строительство, создание рабочих мест, менять облик города. Но вместе с тем вопрос экологии выходит на первый план. Поэтому мы поменяли буквально несколько месяцев назад, исходя из программы Алматы-2020, архитектурные строительные регламенты. Алматы находится в уникальном месте у подножия гор. И вы знаете, вот еще в давние времена известный курорт Чимбулак, Медео, известный на весь мир. Это уникальные лыжные курорты. Нам сегодня поставлена задача системная не более 3 этажей строительства в сторону гор, чтобы не загораживать с одной стороны прекрасные виды, во-вторых, обеспечить хорошую вентиляцию воздуха. Конечно же, и бизнес, и девелоперы это решение восприняли достаточно негативно, потому что эта мера охватила более 10% территории Алматы, лучших земель. То есть тем самым мы дали системный сигнал к тому, что строительство нужно проводить в нижней части города, что не мешает нормальной вентиляции воздуха. И в целом мы сегодня переходим к новому направлению строительства. То есть, во-первых, мы очень много сегодня начинаем вкладывать в развитие парков, скверов, то есть стимулируем то, чтобы наши горожане больше ходили пешком, ездили на велосипедах, пересаживались на электромобили. Очень важно, что мы до конца года практически 50% общественного транспорта уже переведем на компримированный газ. Все коммунальный транспорт мы переводим на газ до конца этого года. Мы около 40 тысяч водителей очень жестко оштрафовали за нарушение норм экологии. Мы эти направления будем ужесточать. После того, как мы проведем транспортную реформу, мы по европейскому пути пойдем к тому, чтобы в центре города было больше пешеходных зон. Будем ограничивать пространство личного транспорта, делать дорогие парковки. И после того, как мы создадим условия для передвижения на общественный транспорт, мы внедрим платный въезд в город. То есть это достаточно сложная мера, это непростые реформы, поэтому мы постоянно опираемся на мнение населения. Очень важный вопрос, так как мы находимся в резко континентальном климате, то есть зима может доходить до минус 10, летом до плюс 30, то, конечно, вопросы отопления очень важны. Многие дома у нас отапливаются на угле, это 50 тысяч домов, которые мы переходим на газ, и в том числе на отопление путем солнечной энергии. Ну и, конечно же, ТЭЦ у нас, мы разрабатываем планы по переводу их на газ. Конечно же, очень важно, чтобы сегодня в процессе строительства каких-то зданий ограничить максимально вырубку деревьев. И поэтому мы через общественность контролируем это, чтобы если одно дерево вырубается, в 10 раз больше нужно было сажать. В этом году из бюджета мы выделили на 10% больше средств. Это практически 50 тысяч деревьев, 250 тысяч цветов мы будем высаживать, цветников. И, конечно же, очень важно восстановление арычной сети, рек, для того, чтобы климат улучшался. Ну и, конечно же, очень важная мера, которая способствует экологии, это глубокая переработка мусора. Здесь с институтами развития мы современные мусороперерабатывающие заводы ставим. К 2020 году планируем, чтобы до 40% отходов было очень глубоко переработано. Поэтому наша сегодня задача максимально создать комфортные условия для горожан. Мы считаем, что, конечно, это временная мера, вот ограничение строительства, более жесткие экологические нормы, они в чем-то тормозят развитие бизнеса сегодня, но в долгосрочной перспективе это будет повышать привлекательность города, потому что как драйвер роста экономики мы в первую очередь видим развитие туризма. А туризм, конечно же, возможен, когда очень много возможностей для туристов, пеших, когда очень хорошая экология, чистый воздух, созданы условия для горожан и гостей нашего города. Поэтому вот эта наша программа, она четко коррелируется с целями устойчивого развития. Мы все эти программы интегрируем. Программа, она не декларативная. В ней прописано 200 конкретных индикаторов, по которым к 2020 году мы должны достигнуть серьезных улучшений. Поэтому я думаю, что такие площадки, как сегодня, они нам позволяют еще раз сверить часы. Я думаю, у каждого мэра на своем уровне много повседневных забот, и важно выезжать в другие страны. Вот мы сегодня даже опыт Бангкока видим, как они решают эти вопросы. Я уверен, что обмен мнениями, он позволит нам сделать наши города более устойчивыми, более экологически чистыми и в то же время обеспечить создание рабочих мест и развитие наших экономик. Спасибо.
So thanks a lot for that exhaustive and detailed approach, outlining this detailed approach of how you strategically are adopting a multi-pronged approach to reduce the pollution. And this is a very serious problem in a number of cities, so sharing your thoughts with other cities will come in handy. Let me now turn to Governor Park Hop. A safe city, as you know, all of us know, is a prerequisite for urban development. I come from Karachi city. I wouldn't call it exactly the safe city, but it is a very important topic for me. You've spent many years addressing urban safety as a key priority of your city. Could you please reflect for our benefit your experience, what the impact of crime can be for urban development, and some of the innovative ways that your city has addressed urban safety and especially the safety of youth. So over to you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, distinguished delegates. I'm happy to share our experience with you all in this session. Let me preface my response by describing a bit our city, Port Moresby. Our city, Port Moresby, is our capital city of our country, Papua New Guinea. We have a population of about 1 million. So in regional and global terms, it's not really a big city, but we have a lot of challenges, some of which are unique to us. And like all cities, we also have our unique character. Of course, we have a common characteristic with all the cities in the world and our region as well. Two characters of our city I want to highlight. Firstly, we are a city, like our nation, made up of 1,000 tribes, 860 plus languages. I said plus because we also have other nationalities in our cities, making it their home. They work there, they live with us. And that's a challenge in itself, running a city made up of 1,000 tribes and 860 languages. It's a bit like the United Nations. Secondly, we, like every other country and cities going into after post-colonialism, having their own teething problem. Our teething problem was not that we had civil war, or, dictatorship, or those type of challenges, but our teething problem mainly is violence and crime. And the main perpetrators are young people who are pushed out of schools because there's not enough school and spaces up at the tertiary or even secondary level. So young people, especially young men, who are pushed out, no mentoring, no safety net, no other programs going on for them, being on their own, tend to resort to crime and violence and also drugs and alcohol abuse as a way of finding themselves. So that's been our main challenge for our capital city, but also for our country. So what we are doing in our capital city, not only is important for us to build a resilient city, a safe city, a city that can become, prosperous and, we increase our livability and build a better future, but it's also significant for our nation because our people, 1,000 tribes, 860 language, they all congregate there or they have relatives there. So what happened in our capital city also resonates or, it affects how people, in terms of what they do in their respective cities and towns and in the provinces. So it's very critical for us in the city, but also for the nation that we address this particular problem of crime and violence. So we recognize that it is important, very fundamental to our own well-being, to our economy, to our future, to the prosperity of our nation, that we eliminate crime and violence, or at best we can perhaps reduce it to the lowest level. And that's what we have been doing over the last, especially 10 years or so. We've been doing our utmost best to take on this as a #1 priority. Without there being peace and security, improved security, there cannot be investment, there cannot be opportunity created for young people, there cannot be a good quality of life. So we recognize this high in our agenda. And the tools that we have been using up to now, mainly traditional tools, which some of you, are used to try in your own city, in your own countries, but we also try to be innovative using the terminology we are using now, like mega trend. And I will try to speak on, emphasize on what, mainly the innovative or mega trend ideas or initiatives that we have been coming up with recently. But let me just touch on some of the traditional ways by which we try to improve security, reduce crime, reduce violence, and create an environment conducive for opportunity investment to take place, tourists to come, and so on. Of course, firstly, it's important to grow the economy. Without the economy growing, we cannot offer opportunity to young people, especially young men who tend to resort to violence or crime as a way of finding their path or finding some sort of a future. So we work with the national government, we work with investors, we try to create an environment in the city that can allow investment to take place, both national investment, foreign investment, and an opportunity to be created like that. We also use scholarship, mainly technical and vocational scholarship. So up to now, I think we've awarded around 20,000 scholarship for the last 6 to 8 years, 20,000 scholarship in technical and vocational school, getting our young men and women to have technical skills by which they can be employed almost immediately, or otherwise be able to find some sort of a worthy type of employment or business, small business. Of course, we also provide subsidies to tertiary level education and colleges to take our young people keep on going up the hierarchy of education, to go up and get a decent diploma or degree and go out and get a job. So we also do that. We also traditionally, like everybody else, I think, doing in your respective countries, do microfinance, micro business. And we also work with other partners like the UN Women. We partner UN Women to have a program for Safe City, which starts in our marketplace. In the marketplace, which are relatively space for women who go there, they are the main vendors. And of course, we have challenges of safety and hygiene and health and so on. So we have a program in collaboration with the UN Women to build a culture of peace and respect from the marketplace and grow that culture out into the wider city, and so that we are not just reducing violence and crime, but we also moving our people towards a culture of peace and a culture of respect, because we see the issue not just reducing crime, reducing violence, but developing a new culture, getting our people to subscribe to global values of respecting each other, high standard of security, peace, as part of their way of life. And we use other traditional methods as well. I think whatever other people try in our city, we've been trying that as well. But in the last 2 years, we've come up with two new other innovative ideas. Like we can call it, I'd like to call it like mega trend, new things that we think may be a bit particular to us that I want to share with you all. Firstly, we have a program, and basically this is circulated around physical activity and creative expression. How people traditionally, they walk, run, jump, swim, climb mountains. They are very sporty. So, this is something that they relate to very easily. So we should use those type of methods. So sport is one way in which we also find a pathway for young people, encouraging them to go to sport. Some eventually become elite sportsmen and women representing our country, representing our city. But others, we just use them as a pathway to find their position in life, improve their self-esteem, because sports also develop those good social values, respecting your opponents, being disciplined to your coach and game, and playing together as a teamwork and so on. So sport is also a modality that we also use very much to address crime and bring peace and security into our city. But the two innovative ways, or mega trend, if you like, I want to share with you all, basically around physical activity and creative activity is firstly walking. So you all might not be, so astonished at that initiative, but really it's something that's so simple, but it has come to become a major initiative by which we are trying to break down barriers, unite our people, have pride in themselves and in their city, bringing our people together as a community to, know each other and, bring a community spirit. And so for me, I've been working, I started this initiative about 2 years ago, or like 1.5 years ago. And since the beginning of this year, I walk every Sunday 8 kilometers. And we started this initiative to address mainly health issues that our people have. Our people have problems with as they change their social and cultural life from traditional PNG to whatever they are going through now. Their health habit changes. They are getting more used to processed manufactured food and it's creating health issues with them. And our number one health problem in our country now is lifestyle disease or non-communicable disease. People are suffering for hypertension, stress, heart attack, high cholesterol, liver failure, renal failure, you name it, kidney failure, and so on. So to address that, I started walking. And I initially walked with about 15 people, but in the beginning of this year, I walk every Sunday. We have a turn-up of about 80 to 90,000 every Sunday. So it's mobilizing a lot of people coming together. And through this simple, effortless initiative, we are beginning to address so many cross-cutting issues, including safety and security and breaking down barriers, getting our people of 1,000 tribes, 860 languages, coming together to recognize what we share in common, what binds us together, and what divides us. And that is having a lot of impact because the people are in our city, beginning to respect each other more. They're coming together as a community, and they can see that there are more things we have in common. They find that they share their aspiration, their goals are more common than what divides them. So this is what I mean. It might not be such a astonishing or innovative idea. Maybe the delegates might say that we walk every time, but this is something that is bringing a lot of our people in the city. Every Sunday people turn up. They turn up about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 5 o'clock in the morning. So it takes a lot of effort for people to come and wait to walk 5 o'clock in the morning. And I turn up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we walk 8 kilometers every Sunday. The other initiative that I want to share with the delegates and, of course, everyone here is we also do yoga. So yoga in Papua New Guinea, so people might think like maybe it's not happening, but this is real. We have started using yoga as a modality, and my officer also accompanied me. She's the one who is being the main mentor in bringing yoga to our city and our country. We use yoga as a modality to address the trauma that people are used to and accept that it's part of their life. They've witnessed violence, they've witnessed crime, they've witnessed, gender-based violence, sexual violence, family violence, tribal violence as well. And there's no methodology or modality by which we de-stress or traumatize our people so that they can go into a more peaceful space in which they can build a future. So in our city, we have every Saturday community yoga program, and then during the week we have yoga program going all around the different communities, mainly in the most deprived or underprivileged areas of our city. And the people are responding. People are turning up. About 200 young men and women, and not so young too, they turn up to use this modality as a way to have a balance in their mental, physical, emotional, spiritual life. And we have decided to use that modality because it's a way of changing people from within. Most of the changes that governments, for example, that we prescribe and subscribe to our people or bring to our people, it's external from outside coming in. We build your infrastructure, we bring your business, we bring your opportunity. But these are outside coming in. I want to propose that if change is going to be real, and I'm sure most of you delegates agree to this, that it has to come from within. So this is the benefit that yoga brings to our people. They change from within. They get rid of their trauma. They have a balance in their mental, physical, emotional, spiritual being. And then they started moving to a space in which they can become positive again. So it's working for us. And the other reasons we use this too is that it's prescribed by the United Nations. The General Assembly has passed a resolution that yoga is an holistic way of addressing a lot of health issues, but also mental and emotional and so on as well. So those are the two, innovative ways. What I would to suggest is a mega trend in which we are trying to address issues of violence, crime, bring peace and safety to our city, and eventually it's going out to our nation because everybody else seeing it and say, we want to do it too. We want to participate in those activities too. So we've started launching it in other cities and towns in our country, and it's catching on. So we do the traditional methods. Last week too, I have launched the strategic plan to address gender-based violence, working with all the different stakeholders who address gender-based violence, family-based violence. We use all those methods, but we use all these other methods too. Our approach is basically to leave no stone unturned. We have to be creative and innovative because we cannot rely on the traditional methods. We cannot rely on police alone to bring security and peace. We cannot rely on government, initiatives alone. We have to try other methods, whether they have been used in the past or they're new. We want to try that. So we leave no stone unturned in our goal to achieve our collective goal, and that is to about the SDG, no one left behind. What I want to suggest to all of us is that we should include another goal, and that is no one left idle. No one left behind, no one left idle, because if they are idle, they'll tend to crime or violence or tend to alcohol abuse or drug abuse, and we are having that problem in our city. But I want to share with you all that situation is improving. We have made dramatic improvement. Crime, for example, has been reduced by 60 to 70% in our country, in our city. But we are still not satisfied because we want to be sharing with Penang. We have a vision too for our city. We want to be the best city in the Pacific. We are outside of Auckland and Brisbane and Sydney and Melbourne. Auckland, I think our population is 1 million, so we are bigger than Auckland. So we are probably the third biggest city in that part of our region in the Pacific. So we are not seeing ourselves as just a national capital, a capital for our country and our people. We want to see us as a regional city too, connecting Asia and the Pacific, being here for our people, being here for our nation, but being here for the region as well. So we have that bigger vision to be a regional city, being a hub for everyone to come, invest, come and see our country, come and see our people. We are 1,000 tribes, 860 languages plus. We have 800 songs and dance and cultures and music and arts and carvings and traditions and what have you. We are the last frontier. You haven't seen the world unless you see Papua New Guinea. That's my message to everyone. Thank you very much for sharing with me.
Thank you. I think you should take a world tour in every large city and walk 8 miles with the population of the cities. Let me turn to Commissioner Srivastava. You are also actively engaged in the challenge of making cities and public spaces safer and accessible, particularly for women and girls. How are you engaging with different stakeholders and communities to ensure this critical goal is met? And how important is safety to the achievement of Goal 11?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Friends, I come from India, from a city called Bhopal. I was very happy to hear from Governor Parkop about the miracles he has done through yoga. I come from the country of yoga also. India has started yoga. And we also are running the Safe City program with UN Women in Bhopal. Our state, Madhya Pradesh, Bhopal is the capital of Madhya Pradesh. And Madhya Pradesh has championed the cause of women empowerment and has taken up a number of policies and schemes to empower girls and women. We found that violence against women in public spaces, it hampers their ability to move freely, participate in society and educational programs with serious repercussions on the socio-economic development. And in order to attain the SDGs, it is critical to make cities and public spaces safe and accessible for women and girls who comprise 50% of the population in Bhopal. The Safe City program was initiated a year back in Bhopal. It was a complete shift in policy and governance. It was transformative with a holistic approach. It is cross-sectoral with multi-stakeholder participation. We have the line departments of home, transport, education, health, and urban administration as well as communities who are working together to make Bhopal a city which is safe and secure for girls and women. The Bhopal Safe City Initiative, it leads the establishment of suitable institutional mechanisms to ensure that approaches to urban development are done with the gender lens, and they ensure strong community level engagement through capacity building programs, legal awareness programs, advocacy efforts, and especially in educational institutions through our gender champions. This is an important part of our initiative. Bhopal has a number of educational institutions. It happens to be a big education hub in central India. And we have set up the gender champions in our colleges and schools are doing a great job in championing the cause of women, of a safe and secure environment for women, of a violence-free city for all girls and women of Bhopal. I'd also like to discuss with you, I'd like to tell you about a major component of the initiative. This has been the engagement of the communities through the Shaurya Dals. Shaurya means bravery. And this is a group of 10 people from each ward, 5 men and 5 women, who are engaged in ending violence against women on a voluntary basis. We also have engaged our media houses, legislators, and our Mohalla Samitis, which have been set up by the police. After a year, I can say that the Safe City initiative is doing very well in Bhopal. And we, our gender champions and our Shaurya Dals, have come together along with government, the urban administration, the district administration, and they have taken up the cause for ending violence against girls and women and creating safe spaces in Bhopal. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was short but very focused, and thank you for sharing your strategy and approach. Let me now try to open the floor for about 10 minutes or so, so that we get an opportunity to wake up everybody this afternoon and open the panel to questions. So please let us know, but keep your questions short, so that we can have a meaningful dialogue, and then I'll go for the next round of the questions. Okay, any volunteers with questions? Yes, Iran delegate.
Thank you very much, Madam Executive Secretary, and good afternoon, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for the presentations. Very useful one that we learned a lot. Actually, I have let's say, a country comment rather than a question. If I may, I read it out, and it's very short. Asia Pacific is prone to cross-border disasters, as we know all. Regional cooperation to address them is of high importance in implementation of SDGs. As you all may know, ESCAP's new regional institution, Asian Pacific Center for Development of Information Management, known as APDIM, is capable of providing excellent opportunity to work on addressing regional vulnerabilities and disasters with the purpose of bringing more reliable resilience, including to the cities and urbans. Having said that, this delegation would like to request the Secretariat, in consultation with the member countries, to develop the program of APDIM with the purpose of serving the regional priorities on cross-border disasters. And I thank you, Madam Secretary.
Thank you for that useful comment, taken on board completely. And we look forward to the operationalization of the center as soon as the formalities are over. And we really appreciate Iran's initiative to host this center. Okay. Is there somebody at the back? Okay, Maldives.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you, the panel, for the excellent thought-provoking discussions. If you can briefly highlight how you integrate the municipal strategic directions or planning process into the national process. Thank you.
We will take a few more questions and then I will let panel respond. Is there any other question? Yes, that's our, I don't have my distance classes, but you're from the...
Yes, from
yes,
ESBN.
Okay, business ESBN, yeah.
One of the challenges that we have in our country is that the different bodies that are supposed to, like the WASA and the Power Development Authority and the Electricity Board, there seems to be a lack of coordination in terms of doing developmental work. So when you go for an overall planning, sometimes there's a lack of coordination. So that really affects whatever plans the city has to make it more sustainable, to make it more resilient. It affects them. So how can, are there examples in your municipalities and cities where you have been able to overcome this difficult challenge? Thank you.
Excellent question. Any third question? Yes, right at the back. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, this is Mustafa Talpur for Oxfam. Just as competition for resources is growing, so more and more cities are giving incentives for the companies to invest and reduce the tax rates. While more resources are required for cities to provide these services under SDGs, so how are you coping with this fiscal anomalies of giving the incentives but also generating the resources in this era?
Another good question. I think I'm now going to turn to the panelists. And I think given that we have few more questions, it would be useful if we can have just 1 minute response, and I open it to the panelists, whoever would like to take 1 or 2 or more questions. So can I start with you, Mon?
Okay, I will take the questions on the planning and the, because I am, my profession is a town planner come mayor, so I think this is very relevant to me. In terms of the, how do we realign the national strategic planning at the city level and the national level? And from my experience, Malaysia, we have the Town and Country Planning Act, which is instituted in 1976. And this Town and Country Planning Act, we have the National Physical Plan at Malaysian level, and at the state level, because we have 3-tier system, national, state, and local government. At the state level, we have the structure plan. The structure plan is shown in terms of the policy directive and also in terms of the land divisions and proposal in a very broad manner. And this is to be followed very closely to the national plan. And at the local government plan, because local authority is also local planning authority. All the development in my city have to be approved by us, even though it's a national project or a state project. The local authority have to go through the approval of the local authority, which is I am as the mayor to chair the development approval committee meeting. And we are guided by our local plan, which is the lot-to-lot basis, is also in parallel with the state planning and the national planning. And these are very detailed, and we are accompanied with the guidelines and also the urban design guidelines. So there are a hierarchy of plan, and the last plan is called local action plan, where it's a very, very detailed, and we have the implementation duration for the plan. So that's how we align our urban proposal, urban development from the very local to the state and to the national government. And in terms of the policy statement and the coordination is coordinated by the local authority, and through the state is a state planning committee, and to the national is a national physical committee. Thank you.
Thank you. That was to the point. And anybody else here who could answer any of the three questions or add? Yes, Mayor of Almaty.
Ну, вы знаете, что я уже рассказывал, тут переводчик попросил выступать медленнее, не успевали переводить. В целом в нашей стране с момента независимости была принята стратегия «Казахстан-2030», были поставлены амбициозные задачи войти в 50-ку наиболее успешных государств мира. И в первые годы это казалось несбыточной мечтой, но я уже говорил, что за 25 лет 19 раз рост экономики произошел, сегодня эта цель достигнута. Теперь в рамках целей устойчивого развития наш президент поставил задачу к 2050 году, есть такая стратегия 2050, войти в 30-ку наиболее успешных государств мира. Это означает, что помимо макроэкономических показателей надо достичь серьезного роста социальных показателей, то есть значительно улучшить качество жизни. И мы помимо индикативного стратегического планирования в рамках тысячелетия, есть планирование долгосрочное, а программа принимается на 5 лет. Но вместе с тем, сегодня мы на данном этапе понимаем, что важны не только программы, которые идут сверху, важно активное участие населения снизу, чтобы мы сегодня то, что мы делаем, могли конкретно адаптировать под нужды горожан. То есть зачастую мы видим, что распределяя бюджет, мы считаем, что городу нужно то или другое, а население считает по-другому. То есть у них несколько другое видение. И вот наша задача местных исполнительных и представительных органов совместить эти две задачи сверху и снизу. То есть программа, которую мы обсуждали и приняли при поддержке горожан, она учитывает и систему стратегического планирования с учетом целей тысячелетия и также местные проблемы. По второму вопросу координация. Вот принятие таких программ как раз-таки позволяет формировать корпоративную культуру. И когда принимаются программы, одобренные публичным населением, это позволяет улучшить координацию всех структур соответствующих подразделений для того, чтобы активизировать работу. Ну, то есть есть департамент, который отвечает за вопросы экологии. И когда в программе видят, что это экология, значит, это должен заниматься этот департамент. Но это не так. Экология касается всех подразделений, и каждое подразделение, будь то зеленые насаждения, перевод на газ, обеспечение транспорта или другие вопросы, они в совокупности дают единый результат. И что касается налогов, конечно же, вот мои коллеги говорили о том, что сегодня важно находить средства для того, чтобы решать вопросы, связанные с ЦУР. И, конечно же, в этих условиях мы предпринимаем усилия для того, чтобы улучшить налоговое администрирование, в том числе проводя реформы в транспортной системе, мы выводим, в общем-то, серую экономику на свет, но вместе с тем приоритетом своим мы считаем в первую очередь стимулирование экономики, стимулирование бизнеса, создание рабочих мест и за счет этого увеличение налоговых поступлений. То есть сегодня благодаря этому Алматы — это донор Казахстана, 31% налогов дает. Хотя страна у нас нефтяная, газовая, но наш город, он не нефтяной, и 47% бюджета дает малый и средний бизнес. То есть мы считаем, крупный бизнес, он может зайти в любую дверь, любой вопрос свой решит. А вот как создать условия, чтобы малый и средний бизнес мог решать институционально свои вопросы, это номер один для нас. И поэтому мы сегодня основным приоритетом ставим в рамках Doing Business Всемирного банка создание таких условий, чтобы, к примеру, разрешение на строительство, если 3 месяца было, сегодня за 5 дней получить разрешение. То есть максимально уменьшить бюрократические процедуры. Мы знаем, в европейских государствах объем коррупционной экономики составляет до 20%. Максимально снизить уровень коррупции, создать условия для того, чтобы каждый человек мог реализовать свой потенциал. Ну и помимо этого, конечно, приучать всех к верховенству закона, чтобы платились налоги, но сперва для этого создать условия. Поэтому цели устойчивого развития, они очень важны для того, чтобы и на национальном, и на местном уровне можно было принимать меры, которые улучшат самочувствие и социальное развитие граждан. Спасибо.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Madam. Let me talk about what we are doing about the coordination among the cities and resource sharing. We are doing 3 things, mainly 3 things. Actually, in June, this June, we will hold the one forum, international forum in the city of Seoul. It's the International Forum for Urban SDG policies. Traditionally, the knowledge sharing, knowledge exchange, and these types of face-to-face exchange will produce the productive result. On the other hand, secondly, we are planning to open the open platform, which is called the Urban SDG Knowledge Platform. As Madam Chair said, the knowledge sharing or information sharing, actually the knowledge is in these days may be more, precious, more. We need it instead of just financial support. So we hope that this open platform, we are trying to apply the government 2.0 concept to this open platform. So actually, we will provide the platforms, and everybody, every stakeholders will get together in this platform and will upload anything. And we hope that collective intelligence might rise in this platform. Thirdly, we, City of Seoul, want to make a kind of a more valid or reliable policy framework which can be applied to the developing countries or in the Asia region. Because Seoul is in Asian countries. We are publishing the journal titled The Asian Perspective, which contains the best practice of City of Seoul policies. I hope we should consider the context to when we to formulate the policy frameworks. We cannot just copy and paste the policies in the advanced countries, we believe. So these 3 things might be the contribution to the network of the cities. We hope that this will contribute to the cooperation among the cities in this region. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to add some perspective from? Do you want to come back? Okay, well, what I'll do is, in interest, because I've just been advised that we have limited time, I'm going to open to the panelists. Each panelist will have 1 minute to share some last-minute thought. But I think the key question we'd like to hear from you all is this is a regional platform, and I think cross-fertilizing experiences, knowledge sharing, and other products are quite critical. But I'd like to hear from you on what are the type of things that we should promote at the ESCAP level, besides this dialogue, that could, in terms of your own best practices, that could help catalyze more action, more specifically related to the SDG 11, irrespective of the dimension that we want to cover in there, because there are so many topics within the subnational governments and at the city level. So over first, maybe I'll start from the other end. Srinivas, can you take the lead first? And I know I don't need to tell you 1 minute, you're already very succinct. So please go ahead.
Our experience in Bhopal, because you mentioned best practices, we have done a lot of collaborative systems with the Shaurya Dal and the gender champions for reduction of violence. So we found that such collaborative institutional governance mechanisms, which have integrated and cross-sectoral solutions, which gives integrated and cross-sectoral solutions, they are very effective. When we involve the community and the people, we find that they take charge, they own up for various problems, they become accountable, and they help government agencies find the solutions. And then later on, they advocate the cause also.
Thank you for that clear suggestion or your experience. Over to you, Mr. Parker.
Madam Moderator, I'm not sure I could give a straightforward answer to the type of collaboration we could have between respective cities. I think for us, as I presented, one of our major challenges is bringing peace and safety to our city. And I think for us, we would just want to learn about the experience in other cities, what they've done, the success, of course the failures too. If we can share that, it will be good for us to know what is the best practice they've used, best method, and maybe we can learn from them as well. We are also involved in with the International Olympic Committee to try to develop this concept called active city, using physical activity, creative activity to bring people together. And so we want to build that type of network too, which does not address only safety and security, but also health and other, cross-cutting issues as well. So I think that's the type of collaboration we're looking at.
Thank you. So over to Mayor of Almaty. Babe.
Спасибо большое. Как-то общаясь с одним интересным человеком, я услышал от него, Ян Гейл, что когда они пришли в Нью-Йорк со своей концепцией «Города для людей», то в Нью-Йорке сказали, это невозможно, мы особый город, у нас свои какие-то проблемы, но показывает практика, все проблемы везде одинаковые. Просто в той или иной мере они отличаются. Поэтому проведение таких конференций, оно очень важно, потому что, я уверен, мои коллеги каждый день заняты тысячами дел, начиная от детского сада, кончая благоустройством, экологией. То есть очень важно иногда поднять голову и глобально увидеть, что же происходит. Поэтому принцип управления, глобально мыслить, локально действовать, он очень помогает. Единственное мое пожелание, всегда для изменений важно доверие. То есть доверие горожан. Пока не будет доверия, коллега мой хорошо говорил, что нужно внутренние изменения. Для этого нужно говорить, обсуждать, формировать повестку. И у нас в городе мы очень хорошо используем современные технологии. То есть посредством Инстаграм мы меняем суждения. То есть если горожане раньше не верили местным исполнительным органам, они сегодня могут сфотографировать какую-то проблему, открытый люк или отсутствие дороги, и мы в 3 дня этот вопрос решаем. То есть идет обратная связь, и люди видят, что я тоже могу влиять на изменения, которые могут происходить. Поэтому нам очень важно, чтобы, наверное, была такая площадка, может быть, создать какой-то ресурс, в котором мы можем и успешный опыт, и негативный опыт городов собрать, потому что иногда, когда ты решаешь проблемы, важно найти точку опоры. Говорят, найдите мне точку опоры, и я сдвину этот мир. Поэтому я уверен, что эта конференция нам будет помогать, и каждый, приехав к себе домой, он сможет решать эти проблемы в рамках цели устойчивого развития. Спасибо.
Sure. Mr. Lee, Korea is known for the smart cities. Anything that you can share for the regional perspective, what we could do besides taking people always to Korea? Is there anything, any shortcut that you can suggest? What are the key things that would be beneficial for?
Yes, that's very thoughtful question, but however, it's very difficult to answer, I think. So City of Seoul just started the new e-government movement. So it's related to smart city platform. So basically, the open platform I mentioned came from the government 3.0 movement, government 3.0 administrative reform on the central government in South Korea. Basically, City of Seoul want to follow that new trends in the administrative reform, and we have we have fastest internet in this city, and we are using kind of big data system to predict the flow of the traffics and that kind of thing. Regarding the information sharing, we have some website where people, citizens, can directly contact the mayors or the aldermen in the council. So we might say that we are applying the derivative democracy or direct democracy, applying that concept to some portion of administration. So there is the flow of information between citizens and the government, and it's cheap because we have a technology. So we hope that the information sharing can happen in this age because applying that concept and that technology. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, that was useful. And when I went to the mayor of Seoul's office, I could see the yellow tabs all over the wall, which he indicated were kind of the communications that he had from the public. That was another very visible display of his interactiveness with the public of the city. So that was very impressive. And he takes upon him to kind of respond. So that was very impressive. Let me turn to Mayor Ramanov, Rio, and see if you have any last-minute thoughts on the questions we have floated.
Thank you. I think it's well been mentioned by my colleagues, but I think there are a lot of forums and a lot of dialogues been carried out in previous years, including this one. I think it's about time that we put all this into action and replicate what's been sharing. Eh? So we've been talking a lot, and I think it's about time that we work together and sharing and supporting and through partnership as well and cooperation, and to make it really, really happening on the ground. Thank you.
Partnerships, yes.
I have been working since the last more than 35 years, and to my experience, simultaneous planning and implementation, that is what works in developing country. That is thinking things out and getting things done. This is quite important. Like for community participation, what we need is doable, visible, and appreciable projects to be implemented on the ground. Simultaneously, we can also do the planning, long-range planning and short-term actions. So this is what works. And plans and projects addressing the risk and safety, particularly after this earthquake. So this is what works in, what hasn't worked, and this has been my experience since the last 35 years. And now, what are the examples of the work that I can say it has worked? Like, one is open space regeneration. This is what we are doing, and we're doing in collaborative manner with the local authorities also. Then wetland and water body preservation. The third one is eco-friendly water and sanitation infrastructure. We have done it, and it has worked, and there has been a lot of demand. So these are the things I think they have been working, and they have worked in the past also. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two items here. One, what I can share with the participants in this hall, and the other one, what I request. The first one, actually, in terms of our best practices in the community engagement through our program of the GRPB, Gender Responsive and Participatory Budgeting, and through our program of Cleaner, Greener, Safer and Healthier. And through the community engagement, I can reduce in terms of the employees, in terms of the number of people to be employed in my city by engaging the stakeholders. We come up with the stakeholders, they call it smart monitoring system. If you have internet here, you can go into the CAT at betterpenang, bettrpg.com. And this is smart monitoring system is together with the community, is free of charge, and I can see what is happening in my city here every minute. And these are free of charge, and I don't have to get a consultant to do that. And another one is about our financial system for the local authorities, where I, as a mayor here, I will know what is happening in my city and how much money is coming in, how much money is going out for every 50 seconds on my iPad. So I think as leaders, city mayors, we have to know our financial system, our financial status back home whenever we go, even though it's in the city or outside the city. And another one we can share with you in terms of our other program that we engage with the community. But what I request here is through this organization, through our participations, and we would like to strengthen our capacity building, even though there's still a long way to go in terms of my people in my cities, either in my city or the stakeholders in the capacity building. And we're still looking into the technology for the smart city. Actually, we are the friendship city of Seoul Metropolitan Government, Seberang Perai, and also a friendship city with Yokohama, and also a friendship city with Gwangju, Korea. And through the friendship city, we will have our own exchange and in terms of the best practices. And I'm not a politician. I am appointed. I'm not elected as a mayor. I'm appointed by the Malaysian government. So that's the difference, madam. So I'm willing to share and also willing to work together with all who would like to join us and also to share with us their best practices. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'm sure you'll all agree that it has been, we have had a pretty long journey within a short period of ideas exchange. Let me try to just conclude very quickly on this session. As I was listening to all of you and I said, isn't this amazing? We are covering all three dimensions of sustainable development goals. We have covered the economic activity dimension, we have covered the environment implications, and we have also covered the social dimensions quite comprehensively in a short stint that we have been in this room. Second, I think there is this big question about how do you mainstream sustainable development goals, which was very well articulated on how you try to also get the local
plans in sync with the national plans. So I think that was one dimension which struck me to be very impressive. The other one was the message that came out about the devolution, although we haven't gone at length on it, but it is quite clear from the descriptions that I've been listening to about the various tiers of government and how you interact. I think devolution and getting the right balance right is quite critical. Mr. Lee started to tell us that somehow they're going to have 10 million terms of CO2 reduction. This is going to be a very important area going forward, and clearly we need a dedicated session on climate implications. It's a very complicated and technical subject. I was very pleased to hear the examples of the civic involvement, as was mentioned from the mayor, that you really can get emission reduction by enhancing the civic involvement, which is a very important message that resonated with me. And also the point of identifying the right indicators, be it on planning or targeting going forward. Almaty, I've always been impressed talking to Mayor of Almaty because of his dynamism, and I think he covered at length the sustainable transportation strategy in all its dimensions. So what is good is that we have struck this afternoon a very good strategic framework for how to arrest the air pollution, which can serve as a role model for other countries too. Also, if I can quote him, keep environment up on the list as our slogan, and also do so by effective instruments like pollution index and so on and so forth. I was also very impressed by the innovative approaches on how to arrest the violence and crime. This is another people's dimension that came out. I love walking, so I'd like to invite you to my city, Karachi city, with 20 million population willing to walk behind you. That would be a scene. And then there were other innovative approaches that were discussed in the process of that. I don't think I can do justice to this rich exchange, but I wanted to lend a little framework to say that we have discussed from mainstreaming to various other ways of catalyzing action at the municipal level. We discussed the financing dimension. A question that remains, however, unanswered is the effective coordination between the agencies that service and I have, of course, put this question to the Mayor of Almaty, and hopefully in our next round, whenever we meet him, he will have worked out on how to coordinate with the other development agencies in his jurisdiction, be it the utility companies or that. That's a very important question, and I have already provoked him during my visit, and he's promised me he'll have an answer for me next time we meet. So thanks to everybody for being here this afternoon, and thanks to our panelists who have enriched the discussion and brought various dimensions. And I wish you all tremendous success in your endeavors to get the cities adopt and implement SDGs. Thank you, and a big show of hand and thanks.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we are continuing now the session. We will resume session 5 on making cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable, regional priorities and opportunities. I leave the floor to the chair, His Excellency, Mr. S.B. Dissanayake. Please.
As our speakers descend the stage and gain their seats, I wish to thank them once again for this interesting discussion. I am now pleased to resume session 5 for our consideration of agenda item 7, making cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable regional priorities and opportunities. I will first open the floor to statements from the members and associate members of the governments. Once all country statements have been made, I will invite statement from the international organizations, after which I will open the floor for designated representative of the civil society, mayor groups, and other stakeholders. To begin, I would now like to open the floor for statement and views from the governments. I recognize distinguished delegates from the Maldives.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon. Let me join the other distinguished delegates in congratulating the elected officials of the Bureau for their valuable contributions and the ESCAP Secretariat for the organizing this forum with such efficiency. The role of the ESCAP in creating a platform for Asia-Pacific countries to create a dialogue and cooperation in implementing and monitoring the SDGs is crucial, and we highly value your continued efforts. The Maldives have achieved many of the Millennium Development Goals through careful planning, comprehensive development strategies, well-established institutional mechanisms, strong political will, along with the assistance from the development partners. Building and learning from the lessons of experience, we are now committed to work with our partners to further our efforts to achieve the new SDGs. Integration of SDGs into national development plans must not be an end to itself. Adequate support and coordination would be required at all levels, domestically and internationally, to successfully and timely achievement of these goals. In this regard, the special needs of the vulnerable economies must be carefully considered and addressed. We would also like to urge the importance and the relevance of national level consultation, including with the Parliament, the private sector, civil society, and other key social groups such as youth and women in development, in taking development agenda forward. In this regard, it is essential to identify country relevance and the need to localize their SDGs to suit the specific needs of SIDS. Capacity building and strengthening of national agencies and nationals, including at grassroots levels, is essential for effective operationalization and monitoring of SDGs. National focal agencies receive requests to data from various international organizations periodically. This suggests a need for streamlining and coordination between various agencies involved in implementing SDGs. Multiple requests for data and reporting is burdensome due to low capacity and the very limited human resources at national level. A more standardized mechanism to address all SDGs related to data issues could be a way forward. With respect for finance and development, we promote funding development solutions through greater private sector participation in infrastructure development. To make private projects socially sustainable, the government seeks full and accountable corporate social responsibility aspects built into such projects. We are faced with vulnerabilities beyond our control with respect to climate change and external shocks. making development challenges even greater and uncertain. Therefore, we need the continued support of the international community. Measures to mobilize domestic resources and enhance tax revenues can only have limited impact. In this regard, we see ODA as an important means to help countries to achieve SDGs. We would therefore like to see the significance of ODAs elevated from the current level into the roadmap for countries with special needs. Finally, I take this opportunity to thank our development partners, including the United Nations agencies and other donors, for their assistance in achieving our development goals and seeks their continued participation in our development process. I thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegates from Maldives. Any other? No. This one. I will now open the floor for United Nations agencies and international organizations.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. On behalf of UNEP, United Nations Environment Programme, we would like to thank ESCAP for the invitation to the Asia Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development and for the opportunity to read the UNEP statement. UNEP looks forward to strengthening our work with ESCAP, the broader UN system, and member states in supporting Sustainable Development Goal follow-up and review in the region. UNEP's regional work will be guided by the Asia Pacific Forum as well as the priority areas for action identified by the first Forum of Ministers and Environmental Authorities of Asia Pacific held in May 2015 by UNEP in Bangkok. These areas include capacity development on SDG data and support to integrating environment dimension in sustainable finance for development. With regard to data for Sustainable Development Goal reporting and policy making, UNEP is working with member states to identify data gaps through national SDG data assessments and to provide follow-up support through the UNEP Live Indicator Reporting Information System and the UNEP Asia Pacific Resource Efficiency Indicator Database. With regard to sustainable financing for development, UNEP is drawing on the UNEP inquiry into the design of a sustainable financial system, the UNEP Finance Initiative, and UNEP UNCTAD Sustainable Stock Exchange Initiative to support member states to transition to a green economy by better directing private sector financing towards sustainable development. We would like to end by noting that the second session of the United Nations Environment Assembly of UNEP will take place at UNEP headquarters in Nairobi from 23rd to 27th of May 2016 under the overarching theme of delivering on the environmental dimension of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development with a specific focus on healthy environment and healthy people. Among other functions, UNEA provides a powerful platform for environment ministers to set the global environmental agenda, and we very much encourage the active participation of relevant stakeholders, including civil society organizations and private sector from Asia Pacific. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. IOM. Then I invite the IOM. Yes, please, IOM.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. IOM is honored to has been participating in this forum, and we would like to thank the ESCAP for organizing this forum to continuously facilitate a strong regional voice to be reflected in the global discussions as we move forward with the Agenda 2030 implementation. The Agenda 2030 recognizes the positive contribution of migrants for inclusive growth, while noting the multi-dimensional reality of migration. And indeed, the target 10.7 in particular, which is well-managed migration policies, creates greater impetus for governments to mainstream migration into development policies to promote dignified, orderly, and safe migration. These are also, there are also migration-related targets across the SDGs that are important to altogether make sure that the well-being of migrants and their families are reflected in the development policy, from education, health, human trafficking, into just discuss sustainable cities and climate change. The humanitarian nexus to development is also important, as this also comes at the time that unfortunately too much migration takes place in the forced environment, as the world also gathers this year for World Humanitarian Summit and also General Assembly Summit of a large movement of migrants and refugees. In this region, migration remains a significant factor, as an increased mobility and migration is projected as the regional connectivity deepens, as we discussed yesterday, but also in the SDG 10 discussion we just had this afternoon. Migration and migrants already contribute significantly in this region, but we also have much of the vulnerability that comes with the movement of people, and reducing the vulnerability remains a challenge. As the ESCAP also mentioned yesterday, through the regional coordination mechanism, there has been a report to analyze these trends, opportunities, and the challenges through the regional migration report, as well as the youth report, as youth is the major group on the move in this region. On the cities, migration also is a major factor for urbanization in this region. And not to repeat the rich discussion we just had, just to also add that it's important to take advantage also of looking at this urbanization and city dynamics that could contribute to the rural development in the SDG context, looking at this migration and urbanization nexus to leave no one behind. Mr. Chair, as migration is multidimensional, it is important to have a good, comprehensive migration policy and governance. Good data and strong partnership is key in this regard. Good data is essential both to policy making, but also to put a human face to migration, to address much of the toxic discourse taking place these days, and we can do more. Together with partners, IOM is contributing through its migration governance framework and recently established Global Migration Data Center. In this regard, the UN Statistical Commission last month adopted a global SDG indicator on a number of countries implementing well-managed migration policies. As part of a resource agency to IAEG, has been working with the UN DESA toward a simple methodology to do so, as well as a more comprehensive methodology for countries who would like to adopt. This can help a review and follow-up of the migration policy implementation, the SDG 10.7. In addition to the mechanism that works and works already done and in place in this region on statistics to build on, this region also have migration partnership and dialogue that can be used for this purpose in the spirit of not repeating or replicating mechanism and increased burden on the member states. Mr. Chair, maximizing the development potential of migration for migrants, families, and societies is important to leave truly no one behind. IOM looks forward to continuing to play its part through collaborative efforts in the region together with all partners. I thank you.
Thank you very much, representative of the IOM. Now I invite the representative of the UNOSD.
Thank you, Chair. Since this is my first time to attend APFSD meeting, I would like to introduce my office and to add a few words on this particular topic. The United Nations Office for Sustainable Development, which is located in Incheon, Republic of Korea, was established in 2012 based on the agreement between the United Nations and the Korean government. The UNOSD serves as the technical arm of UNDESA in New York headquarters and holds a global mandate wherein the overarching objective of the UNOSD is to strengthen the capacity of member states to undertake integrated sustainability transitions through improved knowledge management, such as activities of knowledge sharing, capacity development, and program advisory with UNOSD clients. For the theme of this session, I would like to highlight a couple of ongoing activities of the UNOSD. One of our flagship activities is the Sustainable Development Transition Forum, in short SDTF. The third SDTF was held in November last year in Incheon, in which about 160 international experts attended. Through this forum, we were able to make progress toward the planning and implementation of the 2030 agenda at the national level and adopted the Incheon communique. The fourth SDTF is planned to convene in upcoming November in Incheon again. The UNOSD hopes that these annual meetings can also make contributions to the regional discussion for the successful implementation of the SDGs, and I also invite you to actively participate in this forum. Next, the UNOSD also holds forums related to cities, particularly enhancing the capacities of local authorities in achieving SDG 11 on cities. In 2013, the UNOSD hosted the Symposium on Sustainable Cities in Incheon, Korea, and we are co-organizing International Mayors Forum to be held in early July 2016 in Chengdu, China. It is opportune that the meeting will be held in Chengdu City, which is a city that has experienced natural disasters and that has relevant experiences to share in terms of reconstruction and disaster mitigation. I invite the mayors of Asian and Pacific cities and local authorities to also join in the upcoming Chengdu International Mayors Forum. Please refer to the UNOSD website for further details. In addition to these activities, I also welcome you to UNOSD's various events, such as regional workshops on seats and the one-week executive training course on sustainable development transition for policymakers. In the interest of time, I only named a few of our many projects, but I believe UNOSD's activities are closely linked with the leading role of ESCAP in regional context in terms of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Therefore, I look forward to continuous collaboration with the ESCAP and the participants present here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, representative of the UNSD. Now I invite the representative of UN Habitat.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, participants. I was highly inspired by the panel speakers, who are fighting daily basis in cities. As Madam Secretary described urbanization as mega trend, compared to other regions, this region has most harnessed urbanization as a tool for economic development. Cities have indeed become the engine of growth. In the era of ASEAN economic integration, unprecedented rate of movement of people, goods and services, and urban economy shifting from factories to knowledge and service-based and center of innovations, and the region soon becoming predominantly urban, there is no doubt cities play critical roles in achieving 2030 agenda. However, these tools and engines have become unsustainable and urbanization is indeed in crisis. We therefore welcome the forum's dedicated session on cities and local authorities. This is the reflection of ESCAP and its member states placing an importance on role of cities and local governments and localization as a means of implementation in delivering 2030 agenda. We are encouraged to note that national governments are now establishing national framework for the implementation of SDGs. Enabling national framework for local authorities and building their capacities are urgently called for, as it will surely boost the implementation of all the goals through localization. Whilst we could be lost in translation amongst all the global agreements, be the DRR in Sendai, climate in Paris, upcoming Quito, new urban agenda, 17 SDGs, integration can happen at local level as people and communities do not see things sectionally or nor see the boundary as panel has described. A good news is we are not starting from scratch. And we are not alone. And moreover, we just heard mayors are already starting to localize SDGs. The region is blessed with dynamic and committed mayors, as you saw in the panel today, who have turned around their cities. Surabaya is another example under women leadership. From youth groups, slum dwellers, and business communities, they are all willing to partner with us, particularly for local actions. Sustainable partnership is critical in achieving sustainable urbanization. We can build on existing institutions and replicate and upscale good urban policies and best urban practices, including initiatives you just heard by the panel, such as participatory gender budgeting. We already have experience of localizing MDGs in the Philippines and others. We have international guidelines on decentralization, basic services for all, international guidelines on territorial urban planning. UN Habitat jointly with UNDP, UCLG are working to develop a toolkit for facilitation of localizing SDG. Some mayors have even created a song for SDGs for them to remember. Guess which country it is? The Philippines. We appreciate the tremendous efforts and leadership by the government of Indonesia leading up to PrepCon 3 in Surabaya in July and Habitat 3 in Quito in October, where member states adopt the new urban agenda. UN Habitat remain committed to support member states to translate the urban elements of 2030 agenda into a nationally owned vision that is ultimately operationalized at local level. We therefore call for new urban agenda that will be a forward-looking, action-oriented outcome document to support sustainable development in line with the GA Resolution 70/473. Distinguished delegates and Mr. Chair, the new baby born on our planet will be a baby girl in a slum in between skyscrapers in Asia. With SDG delivered, she will have a decent life, and enjoy full potential and prosperity cities offer. The new urban agenda, with the commitment, the mayor will realize well-managed cities, cities without slums. With no action, the girls will be left behind and slum continues to grow. Global sustainability will be indeed be lost or won in cities. I thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, representative of the UN Habitat. Now I invite the representative of the Urban Poor Resource Center. You have 2 minutes only.
2 minutes. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. I am Ira Mabilin from the Urban Poor Resource Center of the Philippines, and I also represent the Asia-Pacific Regional CSO Engagement Mechanism, or the APRSM. On behalf of urban poor communities, slum dwellers, and homeless people, I'd like to thank Mr. Chair and UN ESCAP for providing space for the urban poor, especially the most vulnerable urban dwellers, including women, children, and people with disability. I speak here hopeful that our collective perspective and recommendations as civil society be included in the whole process of making the APFSD regional roadmap and in crafting a new urban agenda. We feel encouraged that the SDGs and the new urban agenda, as delivered by member states since the last 2 days, point at combating urban exclusion and facilitating inclusion. We also agree that the rights of all to universal access to quality basic services should be promoted. But amid the continued push for neoliberal policies in the name of economic growth, we are very doubtful that urban poverty will be significantly addressed by 2030. The promotion of public-private partnerships in the SDGs and the new urban agenda is very concerning, as our communities have seen and felt that the private sector's priority for profit maximization undermines the people's welfare and community development. It has allowed dislocation of poor people from livelihood and housing. It resulted to higher prices and taxes and inaccessibility of urban infrastructures and basic social services, including education, health, housing, water, and transportation. Public interest must be ensured over that of big private corporations. Decent work and living wages, as opposed to contractualization, the flexibilization of labor must be prioritized. Social services and sustainable livelihoods must be ensured by our governments. We believe we cannot achieve inclusive growth founded on sustainable development unless we build responsive markets and strong social economies. Human settlement should be recognized as a public good and service, integral to realizing the human right to adequate housing instead of privatized mechanisms. Forced evictions, demolitions must stop now. Government must have resettlement plans for the urban poor, on-site development of local communities, and access to basic social services and adequate employment. We are deeply concerned that the goals in the urban agenda do not prioritize the need to sustainably develop the rural areas to resolve landlessness. Agenda 2030 is similarly silent on the corporate control of vast swaths of rural areas that leads to land grab and resource grabs, as well as environmental destruction. These issues have historically caused rural-urban migration, which is now compounded by climate change. We agree that human settlements be made more resilient, but at the same time, we should address the root causes of environmental and economic crises. Lastly, we urge you to look at the urban poor, slum dwellers, migrants, informal sector, and the homeless as rights holders, as contributors and partners in the development of cities, and not as urban blight. Sustainable urban development must involve the participation first and foremost of the urban poor, if you indeed do not want to leave anyone behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Urban Poor Resource Center. I'm very sorry, time is very, very limited. We are giving only another 2 organizations. For one organization, only 2 minutes. Now I invite UCLG.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. My name is Benadia Irawati Chandra Devi, Secretary General of UCLG ASPAC, United Cities and Local Governments for Asia Pacific. UCLG is the coordinating body for local authorities, major group in the UN system. By now, we also should know that SDGs are local. 65% of 169 targets relate to local governments and local actors. What this figure means? It means that SDGs will fail if those actors are not involved or do not engage in meaningful ways. At the global level, the creation of Global Task Force on Local and Regional Governments for Post-2015 Development Agenda, initiated by UCLG and comprised of 30 networks and institutions, including UN Habitat and other UN agencies, has played an important role in bringing the voices of cities and local governments in formulating SDGs and now the new urban agenda. Comparing the process of formulations of MDGs and SDGs, the SDGs are here to be the most participatory. I like to congratulate the United Nations and member states for their hand in what, in the end, the people agenda. I think we should give a big applause to member states and UN ESCAP and UN agencies for giving a good participation of the different stakeholders in the process. Now the key issue is how we can implement the SDGs. Wakatobi Declaration, I'm not sure if you know Wakatobi, but Wakatobi is in Indonesia. Wakatobi Declaration for ASPAC region on the new urban agenda adopted by mayors, local governments, associations, and partners, including UN ESCAP, last year stated our commitment to work together in SDGs and the new urban agenda implementation. So what we agreed upon are several points: to work with national governments and international agencies towards creating enabling environments, legal, financial, administration. That also include sharing knowledge and good practices. And we are now working on the rating of enabling environment for cities and LGs in the most Asia-Pacific regions. My time is up, but can you give me 1 more minute? To strengthen and expand access to different sources of funding, and also to guarantee inclusiveness and ensure that all actors, group, and society are included in the planning and implementations. And last points I want to make, and this is quite important also, I think, moreover, first and foremost, we need to clarify that implementation of SDGs and the new urban agenda is not simply the search for technical solutions, but that is actually require a renewed, strengthened governance, which is multi-level and inclusive. And last, about localizing SDGs. Localizing SDGs is must. However, localizing development should not be seen as a translation of global policies within local context, but we should see it rather as a process based on the empowerment of local stakeholders to make sustainable development more responsive and relevant to local needs, aspirations, and lives through the sustained exchanges between global, regional, national, and local actors. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, UCLG. Now this is the last organization. I invite ICLEI.
Thank you, sir. ICLEI, or ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, in collaboration with other local government networks and like-minded institutions, has been striving for several years at the global, regional, national, and local levels for local and national governments to be recognized and supported for the significant and tangible contributions that they make in advancing towards a sustainable future. We therefore support the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 11 that calls for making cities safe, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable. It was through joint, concerted, and persevering efforts at every level that the inclusion and adoption of this goal has been achieved. And it is in a similar manner that we need it to be implemented for us to realize the targets that we have set for ourselves. Leave no one behind is the essence of SDGs, which inherently demands an inclusive and coordinated approach. ICLEI would like to invite all participants of APFSD to call to the global community that Goal 11 and the Paris Climate Agreement should be anchored in the heart of the new urban agenda that will be adopted at Habitat 3, so that urban development can be brought back into the global efforts on sustainability and ensure its full alignment with the provisions of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. At ICLEI, we believe in nurturing mutually beneficial and reinforcing partnerships so that the impacts are exponential. We therefore support the forging partnerships between local governments, local communities, financial institutions, research institutes, civil society organizations, and the private sector to develop and implement solutions that are inclusive, equitable, and which create a lasting impact for sustainable and resilient development in support of SDG Goal 11. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you all for your remarks and for an excellent session. Now I close session 5. Let us proceed towards agenda item 8, other matters. I am asking the distinguished delegates and others if any other matters need to be discussed. I recognize the delegate from Colombia, Excellency Mr. Theron Tavik, who is also a member of the APFSD 2016 Bureau. Sir, you have the floor now, please.
Thank you, Chair. Now I would like to deliver this statement to the forum
in my capacity as the chair of the associated event on voluntary national reviews. Yesterday, I had the honor to chair an associated event organized with the objectives of providing a status update on the SDG localization, planning, and implementation in the countries that have volunteered to voluntary national reviews in 2016, discussing possible ways of providing country-to-country support in preparing voluntary national reviews, and discussing what form of regional support would be most pertinent to and effective for countries in preparing and using national reviews. The follow-up and review process, which constitute an important part of overall implementation of the 2030 agenda, is rooted in a number of principles, including its voluntary, participatory, and country-led nature, openness, and inclusiveness. The review process should build on existing platforms and processes and be rigorous and evidence-based with enhanced capacity building, support for developing countries, and active support of the United Nations system and other multilateral institutions. In the inaugural year of the 2030 Development Agenda, 22 countries, both developed and developing, have stepped forward to undertake the first national voluntary reviews. 6 of those countries are in Asia and the Pacific region: China, Georgia, Philippines, Republic of Korea, Samoa, and Turkey. The national reviews will be featured in the high-level political forum to be held in July in New York. During the panel discussion, countries presented mechanisms and plans in support of the implementation of the SDGs, the institutional framework for the follow-up and review process, and the consultative process to align national planning to the 2030 Development Agenda. It has also been recognized that there is a need for regional support for the follow-up and review process, the facilitation of technology transfer and knowledge sharing, and sustained cooperation to achieve the development goals. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, sir. Now I recognize the delegate from Sri Lanka, Excellency the Gamini Jayakram Perra, who is also chair of the APFSD 2016 Bureau. Sir, you have the floor now.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I have the honor of reporting on the associated event on the SDG 6 on water and sanitation at the core of implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the SDGs. The objective of this associated event was to share perspective and good practices at country level on implementation of SDG 6 and its targets, major challenges and lessons learned, and to identify opportunities for regional cooperation to support member states. The associated event was opened with an overview of the regional challenges for Asia Pacific as a region with world's least fresh water, resources endowment of per capita, and facing increasing and conflicting demands for fresh water resources, demands for irrigated agriculture and food production from growing urbanization and intensive industrialization. The interventions of the panelists showcased the untapped opportunities in integrated water resources management, integrated river basin management, highlighted the advantage of using centuries of hydrological wisdom as applied in Sri Lanka, for example, and multiple use of water services in Lao, PDR, and benefits of engaging local communities and women. In terms of science and technology in water use, the session was informed about the untapped opportunities for renewable energy generation by using small and medium hydropower in Tajikistan and Central. Water efficiency, rainwater harvesting, wastewater management, treatment and reuse, as well as changing paradigm towards waterless sanitation, dry toilets in India. The interventions underscored the importance of ending open defecation in the region, devising means to enhance the benefits for local community development, and especially for vulnerable and marginalized groups, and as a solid basis for income generation. It also highlighted that there is a need to support unscaling of all success stories, and in terms of finance capacity building, technology sharing and partnerships. Finally, the associated event recommended to ESCAP that it has the most potential at the regional council of members states to serve as a trust builder and network catalyzer of action on transboundary water cooperation and the flow of ideas. Hypotheses and technological tools as Earth observations and satellite imagery for integrated water resources and drought and flood management. Encourage the flow of ideas, of our hypotheses, not to dictate, however, leave the genius of the member states and to take it to their national circumstance. Finally, ultimately, may I warn the honorable delegates, due to the water crisis, where rivers flow, in time to come, the war will erupt among the nations. It's a high time that we too seriously consider appropriate action taken rather than created situation comes to a situation rather than solve the problem now at all at this time and see a policy where we can build up where water management and how to distribution have to come up among the nations of this river where the river flows. I think it's high time for us rather than crisis comes to and then to face it. At all costs, we should avoid it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Allow me to now, in my capacity of chair of the association event of SDG 10, to briefly report on it. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I have the privilege of reporting to you the outcome of the association event on the SDG 10, reducing inequalities within and among countries in Asia and the Pacific, which I chaired. The discussion was informed by representations of country experiences and civil society perspectives on addressing inequalities. The discussions during the event highlighted the following key issues. Inequality was considered as a cross-cutting issue within the entire SDG agenda. The multi-dimensional and interlinked nature of the inequality in Asia and the Pacific, which comprises inequality of opportunity and outcomes, and inequalities across population groups such as gender and equality, was emphasized. It was noted that despite impressive economic growth, a significant proportion of the population in the region has not fully benefited from this development and risk being further left behind unless adequate social policies to address inequalities are adopted. It was recognized that the cause and the dimension of the inequalities vary according to context and have to be carefully studied, and that inequalities have to be addressed by their root causes. The discussion highlighted the importance of the identify vulnerable groups, including through use of multiple and disaggregated data sources, such as surveys, to understand the real nature and causes of inequality. The experiences in implementing universal social protection schemes and services in achieving reduction in inequalities were shared, and the complementary role of different sectors, including civil society, and the importance of ensuring effectiveness and innovation in government institutions and service delivery was also emphasized. Thank you very much. FPA.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is actually a joint statement of UNAIDS, UNDP, UNFPA, UNESCO, UN Habitat, UNICEF, and UN Women. With thanks to ESCAP for convening this forum, we would like to take the opportunity to call on all countries in the Asia-Pacific region, both governments and civil society actors, to give special importance to the principle of leaving no one behind in pursuing the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. We ask you to remember the messages of the young people who spoke at the opening, in particular, their plea to change economic policies driven by greed to ones driven by solidarity, to ensure equal opportunities and rights for women and girls, indeed for all people. Let us not forget those left farthest behind so we can truly put them first. Those living in urban slums, the rural poor, the disabled, the migrants, the refugees, and internally displaced people, those suffering exclusion and discrimination for differences in ethnicity, religion, gender, or sexuality, and within these populations and beyond, the women and girls. An important step toward change is to recognize that these exclusions and disadvantages occur as a result of political and policy decisions. They are not natural phenomena. Hence, we need to set as an explicit political and policy objective the elimination of exclusions and inequities to achieve universal fulfillment of the right to a life of dignity, which is the central promise of the SDGs. We need to focus the generation and analysis of data specifically on identifying in each country and region who exactly are the people being left behind, where they are, and how they were excluded. We then need to design specific policies and strategies aimed at reaching them with quality basic services, education, and employment, protecting and promoting their individual and collective rights and freedoms, and building the capabilities of people, ensuring sufficient public investment for these purposes. Civil society actors, particularly those who suffer exclusion and discrimination, must themselves participate actively in the policy-making process, as well as in the monitoring of results and ensuring accountability. We need to orient public policy toward building essential services and infrastructure that benefit all people, rich and poor, of all genders, ethnicities, faiths, and beliefs, transcending disabilities and migratory status to build inclusive communities that embrace diversity. Building such communities will also require concerted efforts by political and social leaders in all spheres of life to combat discrimination and prejudice and promote tolerance and respect for differences. This is what is at the heart of the 2030 Agenda as well as the United Nations Charter. We in the diverse agencies that make up the United Nations system are eager to work with the member states, both governments and civil society, to make this vision a reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, representative of the UNFPA. Are there any other matters? As I see none, I will close the session and our discussion for today. I would like to invite our MC to make housekeeping announcement, if any.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we will gather tomorrow again. Yeah, we had a very successful evening. So I have just logistical announcement. Tomorrow, 8 o'clock, we will have a working group on roadmap, regional roadmap for Agenda 2030 at meeting room CR4. And at 10 o'clock, we will continue according to our schedule with a special event on global partnerships on sustainable development data. Mr. Chairman, this is it.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. See you tomorrow morning.
SDG is the last hope that we have to have a sustainable world.
The region will have to understand that the long-term challenges on Earth, whether it's climate change, whether it's peace, whether it's equity, that these are systemic and structural issues that needs to be addressed. And we need to look at how we exist on Earth collectively rather than in fragmented silos.
Sustainable Development Goals are sending us a clear message that economic and environmental well-being are indivisible.
Financing is the catalyst. All of this will mean something more if we can truly democratize the capital markets so that a woman sitting in Laos, a woman sitting in Laos, can be actually growing her business by getting some funding for, say, someone sitting in Bangladesh and Hassan sitting in Bangladesh and basically being able to be the investor. So it really is everyone becomes an investor, everyone becomes an entrepreneur.
Making use of ICT as the vehicle, leveraging it, coming up with all these infrastructure and innovative solutions. To me, that's the key.
Access to reliable, cheap energy. Cheap because everyone should be able to afford it, regardless of where they work. And also clean because it has to be, you have to ensure that emission of carbon dioxide is cut short.
The government, especially the politicians, they should make a commitment to implement this sustainable development goal by ensuring disaster risk reduction and the climate change adaptation issue in the development plan.
For me, the most important goal for Asia and Pacific is Goal 13, taking action against climate change. Climate change is now affecting every